welcome back to Chuck's Chats, Series 2. Akin, we hope or hope not, to that difficult second novel. We've got 8 further interviews that we're going to conduct this year. We have a potpourri of special guests. Not going to share them with you now. We'll keep you guessing through the season. But it's wonderful to start this new series and be joined by a former Bective Mini, Rory O'Loughlin, who started in Bective Minis here back in the early 90s, maybe late 90s?
Yeah, late 90s.
Late 90s. And then progressed from here to St.Michaels College, Old Belvedere, Leinster Rugby, Ireland, Exeter Chiefs, and has now gone full circle and has come back to Bective as the backs coach for our first 15. So, Rory O'Loughlin, welcome home.
Thanks, Chuck. Cheers. Thanks for having me. It's a very intimate setting.
It is an intimate setting.
Yeah.
And the pints taste good.
Exactly, yeah.
Talk us about Bective, because this is the Bective thing, Rory. When did you join Bective as a mini?
So I joined, I think, when I was 8. My dad was obviously very heavily involved in the minis, and I have an older brother, Barry, who he's 3 years older than me. So I think he came down probably when he was 4 or 5. So that would have been 95 maybe. And I used to come down then and just watch him. And it actually took me probably 4 or 5 years to get out there and play myself.
Mm-hmm.
My mum Barry used to go down, my brother with my dad, and play. And I'd come down with my mum and just watch him. And like, for whatever reason, there's no way I was getting involved up until probably under 9s. Where I joined, Fergus Flanagan was my coach, and Frank Dunn.
Sorry for your troubles.
Yeah. So yeah, I started then when I was 9 and loved it and played 3 or 4, well, probably 4 or 5 years with the minis. We had a pretty decent team, some very good players, some very average players, but we had good fun and we had a few memorable trips. We went to Belgium. I can't remember when, probably 2004. And then
what age group were you then?
That was under 10s.
Belgium, of course, a hot blood of rugby.
Yeah. I don't know what the connection.
Who organised that trip?
I have no idea, but that was great fun for us, obviously. And then we went over to Wales to the Heineken Cup final. Actually, that Munster one, was it 2006?
Well, there was so many. Let me think. Was it 2006 or 2008? First one was in 06.
Yeah,
was that both of them? 06.
Yeah, it was the first one we went
against Biarritz, 23-19.
Yeah, in Cardiff. Yeah, we went to that as well and played a game. So we had some great trips on the ferry over that time, and yeah, that's how I kind of got introduced to the club. To be honest, I was probably here a lot younger than that on Saturday evenings with my brother in the hall there.
Were you part of that gang, the Tommy guy and the Sextons, and wreaking havoc in the hall?
Yeah, well, I would have been the probably smallest one there, just sitting in the corner, not allowed to get involved. But that was probably my earliest memories of my childhood. Would have been sitting in there with probably 10 or 12 young boys just tackling each other. A lot of concussions probably went on in 5-on-5 rugby. But yeah, it was great. Like I said, I spent a lot of my childhood here.
And good memories?
Great memories, yeah. Even, it's funny when it comes around full circle, I suppose, but when I started playing in Leinster, obviously Johnny was the man there. Yeah. And
you remember him as a snotty nose.
Yeah, exactly. He said
and he was tiny when he was a kid in here. He took a huge growth spurt when he kind of went through his teen years. But I can remember him in here. He was a little midget, demon tackler, full of attitude even then. He would have been too old probably to have gotten involved with what we were doing back then, but me and his brother Jerry were good friends. So he would have just been watching us like 2 snot kids, doing nothing, and then the next thing I was in playing with him, so it was quite weird. Did you feel intimidated then when you kind of...
I was, to be honest, when I went first. I didn't think he'd remember me for whatever reason, but that, now looking back, having been on the other end, why wouldn't he have remembered me?
Of course he'd remember you. I mean, you're steeped in Bective blood. Your dad, Mick, there's a great photo just outside the bar.
I've seen it,
there's a Fox Cup winning team in 1991. The only thing I ever won in here, I never won an argument, but I won a cup here. It was 3rd D's, and in the photo outside is your dad, Mick, Johnny's dad, Jerry Sexton, and myself. And I feel very old, let me tell you, where I'm now interviewing the kids of friends of mine who've had a career like you've had. So your dad, Mick, was big here. I just, want to touch on it. Your dad, Mick, is a great ranger. We lost him in 2011, I think.
Yeah.
It was a bad year for the club. We lost Mick and we lost Joe at the same time. I'm
Yeah.
delighted to see we have the Mick O'Loughlin trophy here, which was brought in this year for the under 27s.
Yeah, I came down and watched it actually.
Did you present it? Your mum presented it?
Yeah,
You
I presented
presented
it to Bective won that actually, so it was great.
Nice symmetry to that.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
nice symmetry to that. Okay, so you did minis here, and then you go to big boys secondary school, and this, we all know up here it's 5 or 6 big boys schools.
Yeah.
You went to Michaels, which at the time were just coming up to be seriously strong.
Yeah, it was probably it was a bit of a shock to me because I came from playing minis, and if you're a decent rugby player, you're probably there's 2 or 3 very good players on your team at minis, and you think you're the bee's knees. Like, and then you go to Michaels and there's 30. Yeah, and
So did you feel like a nobody?
Yeah,
Feel a bit insecure?
Big time. Yeah. And I wasn't very big back then. Like, I didn't get a growth spurt probably till I was 16. So I remember looking around at lads who had been saying they play in the centre as well, and
They were shaving.
twice the size of me. yeah. But that only was probably for the first month or two, and then you get into it, and it's the same as anything. I loved it. I loved the kind of competitiveness of it and how it is made out to be such a big deal there, which is good and bad, I suppose. But if you love sport and rugby like I did, it was perfect for me.
If you're a sports geek, it's the place to go. Yes.
Yeah.
There's
exactly.
2 or 3 of them. Rock is the same.
Yeah.
I'm a Congos boy.
Yeah, it's all.
So for me, sport was my passport through secondary school.
Yeah.
I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer academically. All those genes were taken by other family members. So you sound like you had a really good time. Did you make all the teams?
Yeah, just about, to be honest. I made the under 13s, but like the first team, but just about. As I said, it was kind of first and seconds the whole way up, and then got in just at the end for the cup games. Didn't get called up early to the juniors and second year. Only that was on the second year team. Which was great fun, but it's not probably the 10 best players in our year. Would have gone straight up to the juniors. Some of them still play here. Bobby Holland was in my year. He's now playing for Bective still. So
He is, Bobby. He's about 55 now. But he's still playing, yeah.
He looks 55, yeah. But he's still playing well. And then third year again, I was actually quite close to not making the junior cup team, but again made it as probably a 50-50 call at the end.
You playing centre, wing?
I was playing centre the whole way there, yeah. And then in fourth year I got called up to the senior team, and that was probably the one year that I made a massive development because
Got a growth spurt, felt more confident.
And I was training against sixth years. I was on the seconds for the whole year, but every day I was training against like guys like Colin Marsh and Alex Kelly, who were at the time they were playing Irish schools. So like without knowing it, I was getting a lot better that whole year. When fifth year came, I ended up starting I think every single game in the season at 13. When I used to play inside centre, that year I got moved to outside centre because I got a bit of a growth spurt and got my pace kind of back. Weirdly went away there for a few years in between, but that was kind of my big year. And then as you said, 2011 was a pretty turbulent year for me when my dad died.
So what age are you then? Rory, 16, 17?
Just turned 17.
Yeah, it's hard.
But that was a week before we played Belvedere in Senior Cup, first round. And that was probably one of the best skills games I played, for whatever reason. But
channeling hurt and aggression.
Yeah. And from there, kind of strangely, my rugby career took off. So yeah, I went on from after that Senior Cup campaign, kind of got picked by Leinster underage teams and Irish underage teams, and then went into 6th year full of confidence. And we had a very good team now, in fairness, Bobby Holland and Jamie Lawless.
Yeah.
And Donald Lawler, they're all still playing here.
Yeah.
But they were all there, and Dan Levy was on my team, Ross Byrne.
I've seen. I went down a rabbit hole a few weeks ago. I saw that team. Jamie was a big boy then. Jamie was holding up the scrum. Yeah, he wasn't the svelte, lithe machine he is now. Jamie ate all the pies when he was in school, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. But he's in a full... he's still got the same aggression, to be fair, but he's transformed himself positionally. I don't think he'd fancy
Tight head anymore.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So did you win the cup that
So
year?
we won it, yeah. We beat Clongowes.
Won't hold that against you.
But in a tight game in the final, yeah. So that was great. And then
then academy, did that come, or how did you progress to Leinster? You went to Old Belvedere first?
I went to UCD first. I got a scholarship. So I went there for 2 years, sorry, but I was injured a lot. I played Irish 19s and was in the Irish 20 squad for both seasons, but got injured kind of just before the Six Nations. My first year, and then my second year got injured just before the World Cup, so I missed both of them. But I was actually not given an academy contract. I hadn't played much in 2 years, to be fair. But I wasn't originally given an academy contract in Leinster. I was offered, well, not officially offered, but there was talk of being offered one in Connacht or Munster maybe. But I was 2 years into my degree and I hadn't played, so to be honest, I was pretty fed up at that stage. I kind of wanted to just finish my degree and hopefully get back playing for, at the time it was Belvedere. Or I just moved to Belvedere kind of to try change something. I
suppose. They're
suppose.
playing in the IAL, so really good standard.
Yeah. And then played that year, got on a trial basis in the academy for a year and played Irish Sevens, and then got extended the academy, and then the year after that would have been 2016.
Joe Smith still there at that stage, or was it?
No, he had left. So he went up to Ireland, I think, in my first year in the academy, which was in 2014 maybe.
Okay.
And then Matt O'Connor was in for 2 years. But Leo had just taken over, and I was in my last year of my academy contract, so I did that pre-season and ended up doing quite well. Played the pre-season games, got my first cap against Treviso in the first game of the season off the bench. And
was that here or over in Italy?
That was here, yeah.
It was a proud moment for the family.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, they were all at it. It happened so quickly. Like I suppose being in my third year and having not really, having not played, but also not really featured in training with the first team.
Were you getting worried you might get cut then if you get to the third year with no contract?
Yeah, and to be honest, the manager said it to me when I signed my first senior contract, that there was a stage where he did not think this was going to happen. Like, that's happened to a lot of players. It happened with like Josh van der Flower would have been quite similar. Went into his last year having not really made much traction, and then got a break and did well. But
Joy Byrne is the classic example.
Yeah.
Didn't make it, went to Wales to reinvent himself.
Yeah.
And then came home to his true rugby club down in Limerick.
Yeah, so there's different ways of doing it. But Stuart Lancaster then showed up on the Monday after my first cap. Which was a massive change for the whole club, I think, and for me. So
seemingly he revolutionised the way you train, the way you think about the game.
Yeah, and for young guys, it was incredible. There was a group of us that were probably 20, 21 who didn't train with the first team when Matt was there, because it was very much like there's a senior group, we're going to focus on them. So that's why it didn't look very promising for an academy player. If you weren't getting asked to train, there's no chance you were playing.
Because nobody's seen you.
Yeah. Whereas when Stuart came in, it was everyone trains. We've got 50 players training. And like if someone's injured, you'd be training with the first team. And there's like a natural progression.
Correct. And the logic behind that is build the team spirit, camaraderie, but also if a guy goes down, we're not calling you off another pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You've been training with us, you know the systems, you know the procedures.
Yeah. And you can learn off players by just training against them. So yeah, that was a massive probably moment. And from there, I went on to play, I think, 23 games for Leinster maybe that year. So yeah, it was great. It wasn't the probably most standard way of doing it in terms of playing Irish 20s, getting into the academy, then getting 1 or 2 caps, then more. It was kind of few injuries and not much going on, and then luckily got a chance and ran with it. So.
But look, there's so many kids, you say really talented kids come out of school, play 18s, 19s, 20s, got their eye on the big prize, and it doesn't happen for whatever reason. Injury kills a lot of careers before they start. So you must have been delighted. You got a senior contract. You got a new coach who rates you.
Yeah.
You're training with the big boys. And then you end up getting, and I'm skipping a bit, You end up playing 99 times, 99 caps for Leinster.
Yeah, 99.
Does that piss you off?
Yeah,
99.
it does,
Terrible number to be honest. It's a bit like Stringer sitting on 99 for Ireland.
I suppose I'd rather 99 than 98, but the way it happened was, so I think my last year with Leinster I needed, and like everyone knows, I remember once Easton DeSayo said it to me. He asked me how many caps I had. It could have been that first year. I said I didn't know, and he it was as if
he was stunned.
Yeah, he was like, "How don't you know? You have to know. Like each one's important. Like you should remember what you're on." So after that, I never forgot how many caps I was on. So I went into my last year. I think I was on 87 caps, and I knew it was the end of.
You could smell what was coming.
Yeah, well, I knew like would have a decision to make at the end of that year. I was going to be 28, and that's kind of when you have a lot of bargaining power.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always going to look at other options, but I always wanted to get to 100. And I look back at my caps, and on average, I think I was getting 17 caps a season or something. So I was like, that's fine. That'll be absolutely. I should get it. If I played a lot last year, I should be fine as long as I don't get injured. And then COVID, that was COVID year.
COVID changed everything.
Yeah, I think I was a close contact for COVID 3 or 4 times, which led to missing games.
So you're into isolation?
Yeah.
3 or 4 times?
Yeah, well I lived with 2 lads that were on the team, so if one of us had anything, we were
You were all gone.
So that happened, and then I was in line to start the European quarter-final, I think, against Connacht. Last play of training, one of the academy forwards came in, tackled me and broke my cheek. So I was out for another 6 weeks. I was on around 92 caps at that stage. And then I'm going to get back when there's only I think there was only 10 games left and I needed 8. One of them was the Champions Cup semi-final and hopefully final. And because I had decided to leave, I knew I probably wouldn't get a 50-50 call to get into that team.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't looking great, to be honest. And then whatever way it happened, I played every game, missed out in the final of the Champions Cup. But there was injuries in that game, so I then started the quarterfinal, semi-final of the league. And everyone that week was like, "Oh, you're going to get your 100 cap in the final." And in my head, I was like, "Don't say that, whatever." It wasn't that I thought we were going to lose at all, but James Lowe and Hugo Keenan were both not playing because they were coming back from injury. In my head, I was like, "But in the final, if they're back fit, like Leo would love to drop, to drop me on 99." But
so you started over analysing it that week.
Not massively,
overthinking.
Not massively, but I didn't want to picture like the perfect ending, 100 caps, ideally win the league, and then I would have
sayonara see him off to Exeter. Yeah,
exactly. But it didn't happen like that anyway. And I remember I scored in my last game, and it was in the RDS. My brother, my girlfriend, my mom and sister were all at it. They were all pretty hammered and I had a few drinks in them. I remember meeting them after. They were absolutely delighted. And I was just like, this is not. We just lost semi-final. I was like, this is not the scene. To me, I didn't mind that much. I saw the upside of it, but I know what it's like in a change room when you've just lost. And for some lads, that was their first semi-final. That would have been the first.
Who was that game? Bulls, was it?
That was the Bulls at home. Yeah. Whereas
and that was an unexpected. Let's be honest, even outside of Leinster, that was a bit of a whoa. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, in fairness, they came out and they had a very good game plan and they executed it. Like we probably were a bit complacent, haven't played them. I think we played them the start of the year at home and beat them
Beat them well, yeah. I think they sent a second team for that game, did
probably,
they?
Yeah. That was all new. I think that was the first year they were in, so no one really knew how much about them. And the 4 years previous, we'd won the league. So I think there probably was a small bit of complacency in there. But
okay, so look, let's not gloss over it. There's people in this club, in this room even, who don't even have 9 caps for anybody. 99 caps for Leinster over 8 seasons. 7
seasons, I think.
Okay, that's fairly impressive. That's very impressive, and we'll park the fact that you missed the 100. It would have been the perfect tie ribbon on it and everything. And then you went to Exeter, and I was doing a bit of homework in this because I'm a nerd. And after COVID, money got tight, contracts were being re-looked. Your contract was up on a bad year. And from what I can see, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, you felt you were being slightly undervalued and thrown a 1-year contract.
Yeah. No,
Whereas you said you're at the peak of your career, age-wise and everything.
Now there's an article, I did an article, and it was probably worded as if I probably came across a bit negative in it, which is not how I intended to come across. Like it wasn't a case where I wasn't offered any money to stay. I was offered a good contract to stay. But I suppose, as you said, I was 28.
It was a 1 year.
Yeah, it's 1 year contract, so that's not a great kind of outlook on how the next 3 or 4 years are going to go.
And the uncertainty must be awful if you know your contract is coming up.
Yeah.
In any season, and you go, I really got to play well. I got to stay uninjured because all the deals are tied up. I'm guessing November, December, January.
Yeah, well, it was quite. COVID really changed everything, because before that, Leinster were quite good at, if you were outperforming your contract or you were doing well, and it happened with me. My first contract was probably for someone the equivalent to someone who would play 10 games a season for Leinster. I signed it after my third cap, and then I played 23 games and got cap for Ireland that summer. So the year after, 2 or 3 games in, I was renegotiated that year then and added another 2 and stuff. There's different ways of doing it, but COVID then completely
changed everything.
Yeah, because there just wasn't the money to do that. And like Leo was open about it. Now, to be fair, if I had been out of contract the year before, it would have been the worst time, because no clubs knew anything about it. At least when I was out, clubs were slowly kind of getting back.
COVID restrictions were easing, crowds were coming back in again.
Yeah, there was a bit of
cash coming through the till.
But the way it was kind of said was, we have a priority group we want to get to, then we're going to see what's left, and then we'll see how much money we have left. And it was a decent offer, but it was 1 year, and I was always considering moving anyway to see what was out there. And my mum was born in England, so even though I played for Ireland, the new rule came in that after 5 years you could re-qualify for a...
So you weren't a foreigner on their books.
Yeah, so when that came about late in the day, my agent probably only realised that in December. But when that became to be what it was, like 2 or 3 English clubs kind of straight away were on it, and Rob Baxter was one of the first. So things moved pretty quickly from there, to be honest. And when I told Leo, he completely agreed, and so did Stuart.
I'm sure they said, actually, that's a good deal, take it.
Yeah, they did. They were like, we were doing the same. And Leo did do the same when he was 28. He moved.
Correct, he moved to Leicester. Yeah.
So, and I had those conversations. We ended on good terms. As I said,
it's business. It's not personal.
Yeah,
it's exactly. Business. It's a professional career.
Yeah.
I often wonder about the guys. Everybody grows up thinking, I want to play for my hometown club, be it rugby, soccer, whatever. But when you're a professional sportsman, you're, in many respects, you're a commodity. Yes, we're looking for tight heads, or we're looking for number 10s, and I wonder, is there a safety blanket, not just within Leinster but within Ireland, where guys are staying with their hometown club, and really maybe they should do what Leo did and what Geno did and go off to Leicester, or what Tyburn had to do, because he'd no choice, which is go abroad. Because ultimately, you're professionals, you're guns for hire, basically. Yeah, I admired that. I thought it was brilliant of you. You just went, no, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, it was great. I loved this. Even though what ended up happening, the second year happened, I loved my time over there, and I learned so much. Like, I think there's a reason why players stay in Leinster. It is very safe and it's comfortable, and you're playing with the best coaches, and you have a massive fan base, and you get to play these Crow Park games. No other clubs get to do that. But you also...
It's a little bit insular.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Very insular, and like, it's not the centre of the world in terms of rugby. Like, not everyone cares about everything that's happening in Dublin, sometimes. So moving to the south west of England,
to a provincial city where rugby's probably the only game in town.
Yeah. It was completely different, and it was great. I loved it. You also, like, the Premiership's very different for a lot of reasons, but I think the salary cap and stuff, it makes everything a lot more competitive, and every game really is massive. You know, like they celebrated. If you win, it's a massive celebration. If you lose, it's pretty dark. But you have to just get on with it the next week. Whereas,
and down there you can't hide in Dublin because it's a big cosmopolitan city.
Yeah,
you can walk down the road and a lot of people won't know who you are.
Yeah,
you go and play for a provincial city anywhere in Europe and everybody knows who you are and they want to stop and talk to you. You go in for your coffee and it's what played last week or it's what happened last week.
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Yeah, you got it quite a bit, and it was tough because Exeter had been, I think the fans there were so used to winning because, winning league games. They obviously had a few losses in finals that were pretty devastating, but there was a probably golden era there at Exeter.
Yes, there was, yeah.
That they got used to, and they were still there my first year, but
what I loved in your first year as well is you saw us straight into the team.
Yeah.
You played, I think, 24 caps.
Yeah, I played 20. In total, I got 24. I think I got 21 of them in my first season. So, and that was.
So that must have been good for your confidence.
Yeah.
You moved to a new club and they're straight in. So they weren't buying a filler. They were buying a guy that they saw, you're going to fit the way we want to play. We want you.
Yeah, that's what the conversations were like when I first talked to them. You know, they're like, "How do you see yourself fitting in?" And I asked them questions like, "Where do they want me to play?" And that was probably the first time in my Leinster career I was always moved around positions, which was fine. I didn't mind doing it, like, but you'd have your uncle or anyone saying, "Oh, you can't be."
Don't be the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Concentrate on it. But it was difficult in that. So you want to play centre, you'd Ringrose and Henshaw,
and then,
kind of pillars of the team.
Yeah, and then I moved to the wing my first year and played a lot of games there. And then we signed James Lowe, and then I kind of was back in. If Robbie was injured for a bit, I'd be starting at 12, and if Gary was injured, I'd be starting there. So I was still playing a lot of games, but it was always like, if you want to get into the national team, what position is it? And when I did play for the national team, Joe was very much like you're outside centre. So that was tough in a few years with Leinster because obviously Gary was flying. Yeah, it's very hard to compete with someone and they're performing so well for a team you're not a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're performing well for Leinster, if he's performing well for the national team
and the national team. So talk us through the national team. So Joe gave you a cap against Japan.
Yeah, Japan. Yeah.
Where was that a tour game?
That was a tour, in 2017. So we went to New York for a week, played the USA, and then Japan for 2 weeks.
Okay.
It was great crack.
And of course, Joe said that's preparation for the 2019 World Cup. Let's see Japan.
Yeah, that's how it was all kind of messaged.
How'd you like Japan? I've been to Japan. I was there in 2019.
It, yeah.
Strange country.
Yeah, strange.
Spotless.
Yeah.
Beautiful people. So nice.
Yeah. We were staying in Tokyo as well, so it was like, that was my first year playing. So
just the 42 million people in Tokyo. Yeah, it's mad place.
Yeah, so there's a few of us on that tour who were like 20 to 23, and we literally just strolling around Tokyo like deer in headlights.
Yeah.
Just like, wow, this is incredible, getting paid to just walk around. But it was great experience. Maybe I was a bit naive then, thinking like, because it happened so quickly to get up into the national team, I probably didn't realise how much you are analysed on those tours. Like certain stuff, like I remember being slightly late for a bus because I was getting a coffee and like
Joe won't like that.
Yeah, but only now looking back on it, I'm like, I remember him looking at me. So that was the naive part about it. Not that like I was ever told like I did anything wrong. In fairness, I was in a few camps after, and Joe was pretty direct with me. But that year, I came back and Bundy qualified for Ireland. That 2 months after that tour, I think. So after pretty much from that tour onwards, 3 centres with Robbie, Gary, and Bundy for.
And did you join the dots in your head and go, I'm going to struggle to...
No, you don't. You never really do that. Like I would have, like I've competed as much as I could. I was just like, if I'm playing for Leinster, I'll get in. And I got into camps. I was probably close once or twice to get another cap and didn't. And then it wasn't till probably 2021, there was during the Lions year, I played quite a lot. I think that was the year I started the Pro 14 final, which we won, and I started the European quarter final against Exeter, which we won. Played quite well. So there were
So you're thinking I'm back in here now.
Yeah, because Robbie and Bundy were both on the line, so I was like, I think I might, maybe if this is a good time. I was only 27. I was like, I'll probably get a shot here. I didn't even get a phone call. So
who do you take?
Stuart McCluskey and Chris Farrell and Gary.
Yeah.
So that was when I was like, okay, well, that's kind of that. I think I don't see myself.
Okay, so let's not gloss over. I want to go back a little bit. So we talked about 99 caps. Jesus, if I got one cap for Munster, I die happy. You get an Ireland cap. And, you know, as kids, we all go to bed 7, 8, 9 years of age, having watched whatever going, I want to be like him and I want to play for my club and my province and my country. And here you are in a hotel in Japan, going to sleep the night before a game going, I'm going out tomorrow, right? And I'm the best player in my position, in my country. And I'm going to represent my country. How's that going? How's your head that the night before and the day of the game? Were you like eating the nerves, or were you cool and calm?
Oh no, yeah, I was nervous, definitely nervous.
Were you able to enjoy it? Or were the nerves too much, you just want to get through it and don't make a mistake?
No, I did enjoy it, I think. But like, I suppose I was very nervous about the environment was very different then than it is now, I think, in Ireland, but it was very much like detail focused. So that would have consumed me during the start of the week, probably. But by the time the night before, I remember we were in a hotel in Hamamatsu, so it's quite like rural part of Japan. And I just chilled out and was kind of getting texts from home. It was obviously time difference, but I think the game was on very early back here, so
yeah,
I got a lot of messages, and it wasn't probably till after the game I then was like, wow, that was great. Like,
proud moment.
Yeah, it was very proud
moment.
I probably appreciated it more when I got selected originally, because that's when all the messages came in, and then I was kind of like, wow, like, all right, this is actually like pretty big deal.
Because it's a big deal. Where I'm going on this, it's a big deal for this club.
Yeah, I got a lot of texts from people.
Big deal for this club, and not just you, but all of them. Jonathan Sexton, we call him Jonathan here because he was Jonathan. Yourself, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
And parents and oldies, we tend to live our lives vicariously through our kids. And in here, this is a family. So you mightn't be our kid, but you're one of us. You're one of the Bective kids. And it's a huge deal. Genuine, you probably don't realise it.
Yeah, no,
where, you know, all the old fellas sit down here supping pints of Guinness going, he's one of us walking out to play for Ireland. He learnt his rugby out there on, and it used to be shit back in the day, right? You know, covered in sand and stuff. But he learned, and that's Mick's son is now going to play. And it's a big deal for the club. It's not taken for granted. I'm not saying you take it for granted, but there's a lot, you know, it's like the ripple in the pond. You throw a stone in and the circle goes out and out and out and ever increasing. And when somebody does something like that, it affects so many people. Even people who half know you are in the pub going, oh yeah, that's Rory, I know him. Yeah, he's playing for Ireland today. It's a big deal. I hope you get that it's a big deal.
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, I do. It was, and that's the best part of it, I think, when you get stopped, I suppose, in the street, when you come back from tour like that and everyone's so delighted to see it. You mightn't have seen them for 3 or 4 years. And even I like that was probably the coming back to Bective when I'd met like Jerry Sexton like senior at games, and the last time he saw me I was 10, whatever, maybe a bit older, but like, and like Tommy Guy would text me the whole time when I was in Cardiff playing for Leinster.
Tommy came down to watch you?
Yeah, he'd come down to the hotel.
Yeah,
and like that's someone you wouldn't really associate of being that close to like family connection, but it is just because of Bective you have these connections, you know. And even coming back, like I know, like you think the place is kind of changed. I used to come back for dinners the odd time when I was playing. I did like a pre-match lunch here once, and you see all the same faces, and it's great to see them.
Yeah, it is.
So I suppose it's
like a family here. I use that terminology all the time. It is a family. And it's great, and there's no social strata in this club or anything. It's just we're all one. Let's finish out the playing career. So you move to Exeter, it's going well, your girlfriend moves across, you settle in, you get 20 odd caps the first season, this is good, and then you do your shoulder.
Yeah, so yeah, I did. Well, I did my knee, which wasn't a massive injury, but I did it this sec. So we played Leicester Tigers in Leicester the week before the Champions Cup semi-final, I think, against La Rochelle. So I did my knee, and originally I was this kind of English rugby before, but it was like, oh, it might not be that bad. Like, we'll see if you can run on Thursday. You won't play the semi-final, but if you win the semi-final, you might be right to play the final. And the final was against Leinster in Dublin, so probably was naive thinking we were going to beat La Rochelle. But in my head, I was like, yeah, my knee's actually fine. Like, I'll get anything to have to even give me a small bit of hope to go back to Dublin and play a Champions Cup final. But we lost to La Rochelle.
Nobody beats La Rochelle down in the Ile de Ré. That's why the ground is sold out for the last 7 seasons or something. Yeah,
it was a tough day for the Chiefs. But I remember coming in on the Monday after that game. I was sent for a scan on my knee and I was in a knee brace for around 8 weeks. So probably for the best. But that pre-season, I was rehabbing my knee the whole way through. And I wasn't meant to play the first game. It was a pre-season game, but someone got injured, so I was technically fit, and I got put into play a half of a pre-season game against Bristol, and it was like the last 2 minutes. I injured my shoulder, and I've had injuries on my shoulder in the past. I knew it was pretty bad. It was one of the sorest I've had, and I had a 3-week-old daughter at that stage, so I couldn't even pick her up. I remember it's a pretty low point, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. And did you know then? This
I knew it was bad. I didn't think it was going to be it. But I knew it was bad. So they got scans and there was talk of different operations. I met the surgeon. The surgeon was like, "Nah, it's not that bad. We don't have to do whatever to it." That was an MRI. So I came back probably after 3 months, and I played 3 or 4 games off the bench. But I only played probably 20 minutes. It combined.
So you weren't really tested?
I didn't make any tackles. One of them was against Munster, actually. We beat them. Sorry about that again, but we beat them in Sandy Park, but I didn't have to.
Everybody's beating us at the moment. We're used to it.
Which was actually, that was probably the highlight of my year last season. I played probably a half an hour, and like my daughter was in the stand. It was great. And loads of Irish fans over. It was actually a great occasion. The week after I played against Leicester, I started the day before Christmas, I think it was, and it's gone fine. Went 30 minutes in, and I got a big hit on my shoulder, and it was similar pain, like lost power. Played on for the second. I knew I wouldn't be playing. Well, I thought I wouldn't be playing for months after that, but I knew I wouldn't be playing the next week. So I was like, I'm just gonna go as long as I can here.
Mm-hmm.
I was flying home for Christmas that night, and got to around 70 minutes, and I couldn't lift my arm, so I came off. Then got home, couldn't shake my people's hands at Christmas. That was the first time I had people saying to me, like, how much longer are you doing this for, like, random people? Like, I know them, but, like just, like, know them, say hi to. And I'd be there trying to shake their hand, like, I think it was Christmas Eve. It could have been Christmas morning, getting a coffee. And they were like, Jesus, how much longer did you have in you? Which was the first time I'd heard that, so that was kind of...
You started thinking, actually, because the attrition rate in rugby is savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I've gotten loads of operations in my career, but when you're young, you bounce through.
No problem.
Yeah. Whereas I was turning 30, and
turning 30, you've got a child, starting a family,
changes everything.
Perspective changes.
And then I got back. I came back. I didn't play the next game. There was an injury crisis in the centre. We were playing Glasgow in Champions Cup, and I hadn't trained. I still couldn't really lift my arm. And we got sent an email and Exeter with the team, and I was in the toilet in the change room. One of my mates came up to me like, "You're starting 12." And I genuinely turned to him, I was like, "Shut, like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "You're starting 12 this week." I was like, "No, I'm not. I didn't even think I was fit to play this week." It's like, "You're in the email, you're starting 12." So I was out of contract at the end of that year, and in my head I was like, "That's a European game, like I could probably get through it with the adrenaline.
Get a shot."
Yeah, I will be able. Like, if I play well on this, that's pretty much that done. Like, everyone's watching. You get a club based on one good performance in a big game, yeah. But that's not how it turned out. I played 10 minutes and I got ran over twice by Siona Tuipulotu.
Yeah.
Probably the worst person in the world.
He's doing that to a lot of people at the moment, yeah.
So did that happen, and my arm again just went numb. Couldn't really lift it, got taken off.
So it's like having a stinger just constantly?
Yeah, but not really. Yeah, it's kind of... it's very like technical. I could go into it, but it would take too long. But pretty much the joint just fills up with fluid, so it's just really painful to move, and any sudden movement is like a shooting pain in my arm. Not now, like now.
I was just looking at you. You're okay now.
Yeah, absolutely fine now. But so that came out after 10 minutes, and I remember just being like, I don't think my girlfriend had even sat down in her seat, and I was in change room texting, and like even my mom was texting me from home, being like
what's going on?
Yeah. So I was given a long period of time to rehab, probably 16 weeks, I think. But when I came to the end of that, I was still sore. So I met with a doctor. He sent me to the surgeon, and the surgeon properly did loads of scans, and I've had operations in the past on my shoulder. He was like, "There's not really an operation to do here. Like, there's early onset arthritis, and there's a congenital defect, so it's like a gap in the cartilage that you can't repair. So it's just like bone. Every time you get these
bone on bone.
Yeah.
So did he use the fateful words? This is it, Rory. It's over.
Yeah. Pretty much. He was like, I don't see you getting through 4 or 5 games. Like, I just don't see it happening. Maybe it does, very like odd chance, but every hit you get on this is just accelerating it. If you keep playing, you could, like, depending on what your pain threshold is, like, you get through a few games, but like you probably need a shoulder replacement by the time you're 50. I didn't even know you could get shoulder replacements. So when he said that, I was like, okay, I need to talk to everyone. And then my other doctor, team doctor, was then like, look, you need to think about your quality of life here. Like, I'm advising you to retire. And so did the surgeon. And then that's how that kind of happened. I told Rob Baxter, he was pretty understanding about it, to be fair. And I had 4 or 5 months left of my contract. So he had to pay me because I'd played. So I kind of said it to him. I was like, look, I don't want to just be in the way, but I'm happy to train the second team and train on contact, because I was able to do that fine.
And did you do that?
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I think that'd be good. So I did that. And it was great. I loved it. It was great crack. I actually became really good mates with some of the young lads. And it was a nice way to finish there instead of
just being a maverick, taking the money and sitting at home on PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how did you feel? Because I've heard some people say that when they get retired injured, it's actually a relief to some of them. Yeah. Now look at guys like Haskell, who can't even walk now. He's like he was patched up so many times. And some people say devastated, because I've no plan B, and other people go, I'm actually glad somebody made that decision for me because my body was starting to give up. How did you feel?
Yeah, I was at the time I was glad because my body had been in so much pain. And it was really affecting like my quality of life. Like, I was struggling to get out of bed. So it was a relief, I suppose, to be told that I never wanted to be in a position where I had to make a decision, I suppose.
Sometimes it's easier if somebody else does it for you.
Yeah. And even talking to like my mum was like, she was relieved because like by the end,
sure she was, because she didn't.
She just seen so many, like, everyone gets injured, but like she'd seen a lot of injuries, and even like it was like, because I was in Exeter, people would fly over, and if I got injured in a game after 5 minutes, I'd be.
You feel you've left people down?
Yeah, I'd be in a shit mood then that night, and then people had flown over, and it's not the same. Like it had kind of it had kind of ran on too long. Getting through, especially with my shoulder that season, trying to get through it, because random impacts were hurting it. So it was a bit of relief. And then I have to say, it was fine then when I was over there, when I knew I was retiring. It probably didn't sink in.
Because you were still involved, you were coaching, you helping out and coaching,
and I was living
younger
abroad,
lads.
and like I didn't know that many people. I knew the players and their families, and we had a nice group of friends, but like I didn't have like random people in the street coming up to me and talking to me. And they didn't. They would have probably recognised me, some people, as a rugby player, but not well enough to chat to me.
Okay.
And then when I came back, it was the opposite, because I'm from Sandiment. As you know, people here, I went to Michaels, and now I live in Ringsend. And the first day I came back here, I was walking with my girlfriend and daughter. Must have been stopped 10 times by people. And I went to play golf, and everyone's like, as if someone's died. Like, oh.
That's an Irish thing,
Yeah,
Rory.
yeah.
That's an Irish thing.
Yeah, which is nice. It is nice, but that was then when I came back. I had to kind of go through it again properly and come to terms with it. And then even coaching here, like watching it, I'm like, I could just I want to just do it.
So let's come to that, right?
Yeah.
Let's, and we're also running out of time because both of us can wrap it on forever. So in terms of the coaching, so you came home and it's brilliant to come home. And I remember being out here in June when I was at home, and Ben Keeley, was texting me with, here's the plans. We've got Ben Mannion, we've Peter O'Donnell, and we're working on a backs coach. And I took a snapshot of Rory O'Loughlin is retired, and I sent him the snapshot. And he rang me and he went, how did you know?
Yeah.
Right? And I went, I didn't know, I was fishing, but I think it's a good fit. Let's talk about coaching and then we'll wrap this up. So you played under, if I remember correctly, Fergus Flanagan, under 9s in Bective, Joe Smith, Stuart Lancaster, Rob Baxter. Who's the best coach? Who had the most influence on you? I'd be shocked if it's Fergus. But
It's probably Stuart Lancaster, but that would have been more of like a personal development thing for me. Like I was pretty, not shy, but I was pretty introverted. He pushed me out a lot, like made me speak in meetings to Johnny and Rob Carney, these guys.
Is that the teacher in him as well?
Yeah, massively. So probably him, but I suppose in terms of backs coach, Felipe Campagno is probably the best I had. Even though his English wasn't great, so it was hard for him to kind of be clear what he's saying. That rubbed people up the wrong way because he was pretty direct. Like it was either that's good or that's shit. There was no in between. And like some people didn't really understand that, so I think he was unbelievably
being a bit
harsh.
aggressive. Yeah.
But the way, like the simplicity he put on it and how backs play and even his drills, that's something I'm kind of trying to bring in here. So it was only when I left Leinster that I realised how good he was. That's probably the same everywhere. Once you leave, you realise how good certain things are, and they actually do stuff that Leinster do. Every club kind of has their own thing. But,
and I'm sure you take something from each of them. I know Joe was very dictatorial, right? And he was very system process driven, but there's bits that you can take from everybody because I remember speaking to Ben Mannion when your appointment here was announced, and he used a great phrase. He said, Rory won't even know how much stuff he's going to bring, having gone through a 10-year career as a professional. So so you came home out of Exeter, you come home to Ireland, and why Bective? I'm guessing other people would have been sniffing around as well. Going, here's a 99 cap for Ireland, won a Champions Cup in Bilbao in 2018. Like your CV is hugely impressive. Why all the way back to close the circle here?
To be honest, I originally didn't really have a plan of coaching. Well, I didn't have time to make a plan before I'd been contacted. So I was in school with Bobby, Donna, Jamie. And Donna was just moving back from Australia. So I was just ringing him, catch up with him one day, and he was like, he didn't know. None of my friends, I couldn't tell anyone because there's certain stuff I couldn't announce it at a certain time. So I told him, and straight away he was like, you can coach Bective. I was like, what? Like, Donna, I've got so much stuff to get through before I can think about that. He was like, yeah, would you? I was like, I'll think about it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, first of all, I have to get through this retirement, and then.
Of course, Donna has his dad, Deck.
I know Deck.
Dictating to him. Deck's club director going, get on the phone there and tell Rory he's coming home.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so then, like a week later, he rings me again. He's like, I was chatting with Dad, telling him to feel okay, and I was like, Donna, I told you, give me a few.
Just leave me alone. I need to sort out my life.
Yeah, and then a week later, it's like, Ben Keeley wants to talk to you. So I was like, okay. The retirement's getting announced like on Thursday, don't it? It's on Tuesday, but Monday or Tuesday. It's on Thursday, so like next week I'll talk and whatever. And Donna was just selling me the whole thing. Like we're all playing, all these players playing, which is sometimes good and sometimes a bad thing. But then, like even talking to my mom, and talking to my girlfriend about it, I was like, obviously, I was gonna do it. Like I wanted to, and I'm delighted I did for a number of reasons. But like, it was something that really hit me when I probably the last 2 weeks of the season with Exeter, when I was training away in the second team, and I was training pretty well. Like, I was like, my whole body apart from my shoulder was in like perfect shape. So I was like able to make line breaks, able to pass the ball, and like I'd make like a skip past the edge, and someone like, oh, nice pass in my head. I was kind of like,
I still have it.
Yeah, but also, who cares? If I can do a skip pass in 3 weeks' time and not rugby player anymore. And even like I would be contributing to meetings still, because you'd hear like I was sat in meetings with Johnny and Easton DeSera and Gary Ringrose, like some of the best attacking players in the world.
Who know their stuff.
Yeah, so you've heard there is debates going on. I've already heard it from them giving answers, so I was able to contribute. But again, in my head, I was like, this like doesn't translate to anything really except for rugby.
But it's all been downloaded into your hard drive over the years, yeah.
And that's why, it is a nice way of staying in the game and being able to contribute and pass on some knowledge, I suppose.
So you're happy to be back? Are you enjoying it? Now, that's not a loaded question.
No, yeah.
You know, because I'm sure it's difficult. 12 months ago, you were a superstar, and now you're back to Joe Soap. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And you're coaching. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I really am enjoying it. It's good crack. Like it's stressful. The games are stressful.
It's hard watching, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's harder watching than playing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I wasn't expecting that aspect of it. I suppose you don't really have any control over the outcomes, but no, it's good. I think there's a good group here. Like, and the coaches, we're getting on really well, and obviously they both have a lot more coaching experience than me, so it's nice having that to rely on as well. And
yeah, but you have rugby intelligence and rugby nest.
Yeah, but you need a bit of both, I think.
Absolutely.
The first day I came down here, I hadn't planned anything. I remember getting handed 15, 20 backs, and I didn't know what to do. Like, whereas then you kind of talk to them, they're like, hey, you just like think about it the day before, plan 2 or 3 things, and have it laid out. It's easy, and now it is easy. But the first 2, 3 sessions, I would be like, I need to plan something, overthinking it. Whereas just calm down a bit and think about stuff you did that was good back in your career. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, so to wind us up here, I'm taking Fergus didn't make the cut. It's Felipe was the best coach you played under. Who's the best player in your career? And you've played with a lot of people. I have a name in my head. I think you may come with. Who's the best player you played with to your career?
That's a very hard question. I'd probably say Easton DeSera.
That's the name I have.
Yeah, well,
only because a lot of people have heard say that.
It'll be close between himself and like Johnny's obviously up there, and then there's players next to him. I played with Sam Simmons, who was class. Probably at a club level, in Premiership level, he was class. So was Henry Slade was class, but Issa for me, I think I'm probably biased because I was young and like
impressionable.
Yeah, and I didn't know how to play on the wing, but he would have been playing fullback, so he would have coached me through games, and he was just so calm, and then could do some crazy stuff like.
But he did the basics.
Yeah, did the basics, yes. But also had X factor and could make massive tackles and could chip over the top and make a game breaking line break.
Yeah. So as a non-Leinster person from the outside looking in, I think the 2 best players they ever signed were Rocky Elsom, who more or less won the Heineken Cup on his own in 2009, and Nasewa, because he was there for so long.
Yeah.
And then he went away and came back again.
Yeah.
And I do think that. Okay, final question. Bective.
Yeah.
It's great to have you home, right? And we talk about home and being back in the family. I know you haven't been here that long, but it's a question I ask everybody. Which ranger within the club, so we need you to drop a name, any name, which ranger in the club would stand out for you, either have had the most influence on you or just the one that you go, that's Bective, and that's the guy I think of in Bective?
Like there's obviously like for influence, like Fergus did have big influence on me because he coached me, and my dad obviously introduced me to rugby and everything. I was probably a bit left field, but like Johnny O'Hagan was someone, he was obviously like so instilled in Leinster as the bagman, and he was in charge of all that. But like when I went in, I would have known him from my dad bringing us into Leinster games and seeing him after. and like having him throughout my career in Leinster was always quite nice.
Did it feel like a little crutch?
Yeah,
Because he's
kinda,
mate
yeah.
of your dad's
Yeah,
and he was a
yeah.
ranger and you knew he wasn't going to do you wrong.
Yeah, not even that. Even like after games, he'd be like, "Oh, Dad, be proud of that." Like random stuff like that, you know.
He obviously wasn't a grumpy old bollocks with you then, because he was with everybody else.
Yeah, he rang me one day after, I think it was his last season. We had just finished and we were out having drinks and I had a phone call. I didn't even know Johnny had a phone. Like, but I had a
It was
phone
probably a
call
Nokia 3210.
from a random number, and I answered it. There's around 10 of us in a bar in Blackrock somewhere. And it was Johnny, and he's like, "Where are you? Come down to Arthur Mains. There's a few of us down here." It was all the Bective lads. And I hung up, and they're like, "Who is that?" I was like, "Johnny O'Hagan." And they couldn't believe, because they didn't know we had like that sort of, not that we had, sorry, we didn't go to pop. That was the only point I went with them for, like, I ended up meeting them, but they didn't realise like we would have had a relationship like that. So yeah, Johnny, and we'd always talk about Bective. Like, you know, I came in here 3 years ago when kind of Bobby and Jamie and Donna started playing, and like didn't plan on coming up and having any pints or anything. Came in at half time to get a drink. Johnny was in the corner with loads of them and dragged me over. Didn't go out to the second half. The lads came in after the game. I was like 10 pints into me, just talking stories about
talking shite to Hagar.
So yeah, probably Johnny would be one of them as well.
All right, look, it's good to hear. I could talk to you forever. Unfortunately, we're going to run out of battery and energy. It's great to have you back. It's great to have you back in the family, in the club. We're doing well at the moment. We've a big couple of games coming up, season defining, but it's all going well. Really hope you're enjoying it.
I am.
Thank you for your service to Bective, starting at the under 8s or under 9s and coming all the way back when you could have picked anywhere else. We really appreciate it.
Cheers,
Rory,
Chuck,
thanks a million.
Delighted to be back. Thanks.
That's a wrap, Rory.